Good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of Caribbean Feedback. My name is Curtis Henry, and sitting in with us this evening, we have a lineup of our lovely panelists. I am seeing Miss. Oh Lord, we have two Judith with us. What's the Judith name? Henry. Why you clapping? Why you clapping? Why are you clapping, Sam? As if one Judith wasn't enough. That is a handful. We have a handful dealing with one Judith, and we have another Judith coming on this evening. Sister Empress Judith, tell me where you're from, first and foremost.
Originally, I'm from St. Thomas, Jamaica. St. Thomas, Jamaica.
Another one. Sam. I need you to stand side by side with me this evening, side by side. We have not one, not two, not three. We have, well, not one, not two, but three Jamaican women on the panel this evening.
Three Jamaican women on the panel this evening.
I need all the help and support I can. Understand that. Come on, this is one. Oh gosh, I really hope Mark was with us this evening. I need some help and support.
Three women, eh? Three women. Lord have his mercy. Three.
That's three.
And two of them named Judith.
That's what I'm saying. With problems.
I'm not saying a word.
Not yet.
Impossible.
Not yet.
Impossible.
Not yet. Yeah, that's I don't see how that could be even remotely. Mark, I really hope you'll be joining us soon. But as you know, with Mark, it's one moment to the other. He may be busy rushing home, or he may be asleep. We don't know. We have no idea.
I'm not sitting where I normally am because the whole house is in disruption.
Is it me or the thing sounding kind of weird?
It sounds a little weird.
It sounds good to me.
Does it sound like we're in the Matrix tonight a little bit?
Yeah. No, we're sounding good. Good night, Lucy O'Brien. Thank you so much for joining us. Sherry Ann Sylvester, thank you. Hi, Georgia K. Good night. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, sitting in with us, we have three of our regular panelists, Mr. Sham Archer from Muzilog, Dr. Judith Barnes from Judith Artworks and Creatives and Creativity and all the other good stuff that you do. And we have Miss Karin Forrester from BantuKreations. We have a special guest with us this evening, Empress Judith Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. Andrea Lamotte. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Lamotte.
No, you don't pronounce the H-E.
No, Lamotte.
Okay.
Start any war.
I am not going to fight with you all how to pronounce
that's Mark's cousin.
Name.
No.
Okay. Andrea, good night. Make it simpler. Good night, Miss Williams. Hello, Denise. Thank you so much for joining us. Sam, let us keep things rolling and go right into the program. Run the commercials.
That's right.
My name is Karin Forrester. I represent BantuKreations. BantuKreations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. BantuKreations can be found on IG and on Facebook as BantuKreations. That's BantuKreations with a K.
Come check me out, chriskeys.com. I'm worldwide.
Tony Altamirano.
Hi, I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
I'm an artist.
Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cutt from Music by Tom Cutt. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on up, B.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Sam, for those lovely words from our esteemed panelist, Karin Forrester at BantuKreations, and from your works, Muzilog, the hybrid executive, which I do believe we can all claim that we all hybrid executives. Is that correct?
That's right.
I didn't hear anything from me, but that's okay. That's quite okay.
It's
I'm
too early
quite
in the
flexible.
show. It is too early in the show, Judith. It is too early in the show. I am not going to
Just
take
being
you
honest
on.
with you.
We have a guest this evening, and I'm going to try to be at my best behavior. There is a
He
stranger.
knows what he did.
There is a stranger in our midst, and I am going to try to conduct myself accordingly. That is the way I was raised, and if my grandmother is watching, I know I would receive something, a projectile from across the room for conducting myself and showing up my colors when guests are present. Because sitting in with us this evening is none other than Miss Judith Smith. She is an insurance agent, an insurance specialist, I like to think, who is here to tell us how to build a solid financial foundation and how hopefully we can pass down generational wealth. As we've said time and time again on this show, generational wealth is generational health. Generation wealth is generational health. Before you begin, Judith, Empress Judith, could you, I'd like to get something off the top. A lot of us as people, we shy away from obtaining an insurance policy for a lot of years because we think it's just somehow preparing for your doom. So we stay away. No, I don't want no insurance. That's preparing for death. But as the years went by, I realized that this is a good thing because I've seen families that had to print T-shirts and do fish fry and barbecues and all kind of things to gather money to bury their loved ones.
Yeah.
For some of us that don't know and think that we're just feeding money into the government, let me ask you something up front. If an insurance policy is paid up in full, does it gain interest?
It depends on the type of insurance policy that you have. So specifically, we're talking about life insurance, but then there are different types of life insurance. When you do structure it properly, it can accumulate compound interest, which is magical.
But that's if you pay it off, not while you're paying on it. Am I correct?
No, while you're paying on it. And we can, yeah, while you're paying on it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I said enlighten us. Enlighten us.
Okay, yes, I had planned to do that as we go through the conversation since it built in stages. But yes, if depending on the type of insurance you get, so there are two types. There's the term life insurance and then there's the permanent, right? So term, as it stated, is for a term, so 10, 20, 30 years. And that's pretty much where, for ease of conversation, that's like renting. So when you rent, then you don't build up any equity in it, right? So there are even different types of terms, which we can go through in a moment. And then there's permanent insurance. So there's term and perm. The permanent, which again, there are various types of permanent, that when you when you and the right financial advisor structure a policy for you correctly, then yes, you have the types that will build you a cash value component is there. And so that builds interest, compound interest as the policy grows. As you grow, it grows with you.
So are there insurance policies that someone can benefit from while they're alive as opposed to waiting until they're dead where they don't enjoy any of the money, but it's just passed on and chopped up in increments to children and family members?
Absolutely. The old type of insurance or for parents life insurance was, a death plan. Now today's life insurance comes with living benefits. You don't have to die to use. You can access it while you're alive. And of course, that will change the behavior of the policy. So right out from the start, the right financial advisor will sit with you, look at what picture you're wanting to paint. What is it that you want to happen down the road? And then we build a plan for you that will make those things happen.
Okay, so with your presentation, please take me from the top and walk us through this process and help those of us who are still in the dark where this thing is concerned, help us get a better understanding of life insurance and how it can help us as individuals, as families, and as a people.
Okay, so first I'd like to say good night to everyone. It's certainly a pleasure and a privilege that I get to come here tonight and talk with you about three things. One, it's understanding how money works. And I know that sounds funny that we're going to be talking about life insurance, but yet we're going to begin with how money works. It's what brought me roundabout to even becoming a financial advisor. The second thing we'll talk about is the number one concerns of senior citizens and expanding that into the Caribbean community here and home. Home meaning where you're from originally, if you're from the not US. And then the third thing we'll talk about then is using life insurance as the most effective and efficient tool for building your legacy. So that's where we'll talk about, generational wealth. So it's not only you're thinking of yourself here in this lifetime and how to be effective and efficient with the money that you have here now, but also in your future and for future generations to come. So we can start with the basic understanding of how money works, right? And you're probably already familiar with the rule of 72, and you can interject, you can, pop in and ask questions as we go along if you choose, or I can go through. And the rule of 72 typically states it's a formula that banks and financial institutions use to determine how long it will take for your money to double. So in our practice, then we also teach our clients and prospects how to be the banker. So if the banks are using it, then so can you, right? So basically the rule of 72 is, and you can do this yourself at home. Probably most likely you have a savings account. So you would take 72 divided by the amount of interest rate that your bank is offering, and then that will tell you how long it'll take for your money to double. So I'll give just a brief example. Let's say you're 40 years old and you have $1,000 that you want to make a one-time investment. And you want to see, well, how long it will take for my $1,000 to get to $2,000. Well, if you know that your bank is giving you 3% interest, we're going to be generous with the banks today. Your bank is giving you 3% interest rate on the money. So you would take 72, divide that by the 3%, and it will tell you that it'll take 24 years for that $1,000 to become $2,000. So depending on, yes.
But you're being generous. You're being generous right now, Judith.
I'm being very generous.
About banks that pay 1% or less than that.
Or 0.02 or
0.001%. So what are you telling me on $1,000 at a 0.1%?
Probably 700 and some years or 3,000 some years. Yes. So that's but it gets better than that though, because here's what the bank is offering you. But there's the flip side, right? Because then when you put your money in the bank, does it sit there? No, normally it doesn't, right? The bank is a depository, but what they do is they put your money to work for you. Like, let's say, for example, this week, hold
on. They put your money to work for you, or they put it to work for them?
They put the money to work for them. Thank you for catching that. They put the money to work on their behalf. So, like, I'll put my money in the bank, right? I put a check in the bank a few days ago. And so then the bank says, well, we have to hold that for a few days. We can't just release all the money to you. So why not? It's because they're using the money to leverage in their best interest, right? So let's go back to the example. You put your $1,000 in, the bank is being generous and gives you 3% interest. You're 40 years old, you'll be 64 years old before your $1,000 gets to $2,000, right? And so here's the other side of the coin, though. When you put your money in the bank and your bank is going to now leverage your money, they're going to put it to work at least seven different ways, right? For them. So they're going to, you yourself can step into the bank for a loan. Your family member or the neighbor or somebody else can step into the bank for a loan. Here's what the bank will do. Well, I know you have money in the account over there, but if you need this loan, because what we're taught to use other people's money, right? So if you need a loan, first you have to do an application, then I have to run your credit, and then all kinds of things come up, right? Then usually based on your credit, let's say your credit's a little jacked up, they'll say, well, good news, I can loan you the money, but it's going to be like 12% interest. So now you see how your money works in the bank's favor, where if you now divide 72 by 12, which is what you are paying them, then their money doubles every 6 years. Yours is every 24 years at 3%, right? They you're funny. So if at every 6 years, the bank is doubling their money, but we teach people how they can behave like the banker. Naturally, you won't have as much money as a bank because they're using a lot of people's money, but you can now begin to pattern that behavior so that you can see something more happening for you. You can put your money to work for you and give it multiple jobs, not just come in, pay the bills, go out, not just that job.
So Judith, tell us, what is the best way to fund that insurance policy?
Well, then we'll sit down. Normally, my clients and I, we go through a discovery process, like I said. And so then we'll sit down and look at what you really want. I know up to now, you've probably been told that life insurance is needs-based. But if I'm sitting and designing a legacy plan, then no, it's not just my basic needs that I want to go buy food. I want my family to be able to do that. No, I want them to have a little more than that. So I'm going to ask you, what do you want? And then I will show you various ways of going about achieving that. So if you're sitting with me and you say, you know what, I have $100 a month, which is minimal, depending on your age, your health, and your gender, then once we say, okay, let's look at how this will work for you, I can show you an illustration where if you put in $100 into a policy, at what age you will begin to see something that can work for you.
So back up a second. Back up. I can't let you slide by with the gender part. What does that have to do with getting a policy?
Well,
I think I know women generally outlive men. Is that has anything to do with it?
Yes, and women perhaps take less risk. We take better care of our health, maybe. Certainly,
it's less stress.
Less stress.
Yeah, less stress.
I don't know. It depends on who you're talking to, but yes, women usually outlive men. So
as a man, you're telling me my policy will cost more because of my gender?
Normally does, yes.
Okay, continue. This is interesting.
Yes. So then looking at, if you sit with me and you say, this is what I'd like to see, this is the legacy that I'd like to leave. I'm leaving my mark on this earth, and this is how I'd want my loved ones to know that I love them, right? I remember I was having a conversation with a gentleman that works at a hospital of all places. And he was from the Caribbean as well. And we were having the life insurance discussion. And he said after he dies, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you said something. He says after he dies, he doesn't care what happens. And this is someone who had young children. He doesn't care what happens, even though his children are like 9 and 10 and coming up. And so we'll take a look at those things. When it comes to life insurance, we first look at your mindset. It's what do you know, what you don't know, and then how do we fill in the gap to help you realize? Because, you know, you may get to a certain age, and what if you don't die? You know, what if you get all jacked up and you need help? Are you going to say, my children, are you going to say, no, my children, don't help me because if I had died, I don't want to help you? You know, those kind of things you take a look at so that we can see how we flow forward when we're talking about leaving a legacy. You know, you talk about when we're doing the fish fries and the GoFundMe pages and those things. There's an old study, right? It's very old, but we still use it in the industry because we see it playing out just like you were talking here a few moments ago. So there was an old study that took 100 people from the age 25 to age 65, so over the 40-year span. And what they found at the end of the 40 years was 56% of those people, they depended on family, friends, Social Security, church, some type of charity to help them get by. 25% of them died before they even reached 65.
Wow.
And 11% of them, they continued working even after 65, right? And only 8% got to financial independence. And that can have a wide range of what that could mean. So what does financial independence really mean? Is it the need or the want type of basis that we're looking at? So we're talking really if you want to look at the magnitude of that, right? In the richest country in the world, 92% of Americans by the age of 65 in this study, they were dead or dead broke. Right? So it gets pretty serious. Life comes with uncertainties. We have to plan. We have to prepare for those while we live for the best, right? Because you don't want to have the mindset of, you know, tragedy or anything like that. But you do want to have the mindset of, life, I need to prepare because life comes with uncertainties. So that study is still used in today's market.
I have a question. When you say financial dependence, explain that to me in liquid. Like, does it mean you're getting something monthly, or it just means that you've accumulated a certain amount of money and you have it sitting where it's, you know, what does it actually mean?
Right. And that's what I was saying. That's a broad view of looking at that percent of the study. It can mean that you had put away something. It can mean that now you feel a little bit safe. Maybe you're getting Social Security or something like that, but you do have some type of independence. Maybe you're making over a certain income and they look at that as, well, you can survive. You can even if you're not thriving, you're surviving.
Because, like, if we talk about just to twist it a little bit, some people say, okay, job security means you have X amount of dollars in your savings, maybe right. 4 to 6 months of your salary sitting in your savings, and that's job security. So, in terms of life insurance, what would that number look like, if there's any number?
I'm not sure that we can really say that that's a number, because what is retirement really, right? It's a number, but it's not necessarily an age number. It's a money number, right? So,
Is that the age
right,
number?
we don't have to get to 65 and 70 and 67, whatever the retirement age to say we're retiring. It's when we have the right amount of money, we can say, I'm retired now, right?
Okay.
Point.
Hopefully, I'm listening. I'm
Oh, okay.
I'm taking this in. I'm taking this in.
Okay.
Interesting.
What are the
Go ahead,
benefits
Karin.
of what are the benefits of the term life insurance versus permanent? What is the major benefit of one over the other?
Okay, so let me go through those two now then. Term, like I said, that's where consider like renting an apartment, right? So it's for a set period of time. Usually you find that between 10, 20, and 30 years, it's less costly and you'll get a greater death benefit, right? But then that's where the term benefits end. It's in the death benefit. So you have the regular term. You'll have a return of premium type of term. That's where, let's say you go to 30 years and you don't die, then the insurance company will give you your money back. So that's called return of premium term policy. Then you have the group type of term where you get that through an employer. So once you leave the job, then you no longer have that. If you choose to, like some employers might say, well, you can carry it on your own, but then the cost factor is going to come in because then you don't have that group umbrella there to help you offset the cost of that. So with the term and you're renting, imagine you're renting, there's no equity in the walls, right? Versus owning, there's no equity. So let me use an example. Like my own aunt, she had gotten a policy when she was very young, and she was paying like maybe $30 a month or something for this policy. She was in her 30s. She had a 30-year term, and now she's getting ready to hit 60. And her insurance company sent her a letter that says, well, your policy is about to, run out. And here's what will happen if you choose to continue the policy. So she went from $30 because now she's 30 years older, right? She went from paying $30 to now it was going to cost her $450 per month.
Ooh,
yes.
My goodness.
Yes, and then they broke it down that because she is renewing, if she chooses to renew the term, then they staged it at what points it would go up to like some $1,000 and some dollars. And that's just one example of what I've seen when people thought they were secure in having the insurance, and now they're at an age where they're looking at some more security from that, but it becomes unaffordable.
So are insurance companies banking on situations like these where the policy blossoms into something great, so great that the person cannot afford it, that they just stop paying on the policy, and all that money that you put into that is now what, lost or in the hands of the insurance company? So is that how they make their money?
Well, there may be various ways that insurance company makes money, but remember, yes, if you're sitting with an advisor, and this is where it begins, if you're sitting with an advisor, because I know sometimes people think they can jump on the internet and they heard this commercial or something like that, and they can get this amount for $12 or something like that, but there's a lot of fine print. So if you're sitting with your advisor and you're really taking a look at your circumstance, your money, and how you want, what language do you want your money to speak, then you know how to go about building something substantial, and that will benefit. So some term insurance you can convert later. So all insurance is good insurance. You have maybe this is the place where you can start. Not everybody can start out affording this other amount, because permanent life insurance is going to cost a little more. Well, it can cost a lot more depending on what you're structuring, but then it comes with those built-in benefits as well. So
and The structuring that you're referring to, those are the term riders?
Yes, part of it is the riders. Okay. Of course, when you're looking at, depend on which plan you're looking at, some of those riders are built in. So it depends on what you want for your legacy plan. And so then we would show you how to go about making that happen.
Let me ask you a question. So what you're saying in essence is that if you have one of those term plans, and you decide to get rid of it, you don't get any money back, right? Whether it was 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you've been paying.
Right. If you have a return of premium term and the term runs out and nothing happened to you, you didn't die. Because basically when there's a saying, and it's not official. Maybe I shouldn't even say it here, but in the insurance environment, then we'll say, number one, the best time to have a term policy is the day you signed. You walk out of the agency, out of the office, and you die. You get hit by a car or something. You die. That's the time that term is working in your best interest. And normally, when you go to underwriting, right? When your application goes to underwriting, then there are many factors that they look at, which can kind of determine how long you live, unless you died by accident or something, quite unexpected happening. They can kind of know your lifespan, how long you live. And so sometimes, you get the term based on the insurance will win the bet, because you're betting that I bet you I'll die within 30 years, right? So if you die, you win the bet. If you don't,
that's not a bet. I'm not like that bet.
Right?
That's a gamble. It's sort of a gamble. Yeah. And the insurance companies are gambling on the fact that you won't die within that period of time. And then if in fact you do, then okay, they lost that bet and they have to pay out. And if in fact you do not die, then they balloon that payment and now they begin to tax you even more, because now you enter another bracket where you now closer to death. Yes. So now they charge you even more, because now they're going to have to pay within that next 10.
And they're taking on, 10 years. Remember, they're taking on the risk as well, right? So now you're 30 years older, and maybe you went through some changes in health and all of that. So the insurance company is pretty much taking on the risk. So you may not last the 30 years more, right?
So one of the things I've noticed, even with all the stock market crashes and 2008 with the real estate bubble bursting open, and we had banks that going under. Somebody help me here. Did any insurance company fold?
Nope.
Well, let me just find this out, because I remember Chris Rock doing a little routine, and he says, isn't insurance meaning that when you put your money into something and something, whatever it is you put it against, it doesn't happen? Shouldn't you get your money in case, right? You're paying this money just in case. So insurance is just like the vaccine. It ain't curing you, but you just in case. Well, I mean, what are we saying?
Should you get some money back at the end of the policy if in fact you didn't die?
They don't give you no money.
Well, then that's where you step it up. That's where permanent insurance comes in. That's not a just in case. That's not a just, okay, it's only a death benefit aspect of that. So then when you're looking, so we talked about term. So when you're looking at permanent now, it's like you're owning the house. So now you're building equity. When you're sitting with your advisor and you're structuring a properly structured policy, then a lot of things can happen for you on your behalf. And you'd be amazed that even at $150, $200 a month that you're putting in as your premium, then you'd be amazed at how that behaves for you over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years until you're ready to access it. You'll be amazed at how when you're when you're accessing these living benefits or the cash value component and such, at how it still performs as if you didn't even touch the money. Because then the insurance company is going to say, no, I want you to build wealth. I'll loan you against the policy. So it becomes like a collateral. I'll loan you against what you have in the policy. And then you leave yours to keep growing compounded. So when you don't interrupt that compound interest, that's when it becomes magical, right? So let me say, for example, if you had $1 today, nobody really gives you 100% interest, but let's just, for the ease of math, say you have $1 today and you're going to get a 100% interest compounded for the next 20 years. That becomes over $1 million. That's how magical compound interest, when it's left uninterrupted. And if you have an advisor that has your best interest at heart, then they will show you the rules. Everything has rules, right? Rules and guidelines, right? So if you play within the right rules, then you play to win.
So is whole life a permanent life insurance?
Yes, it is. So let me break it down a little more. So there are various types of permanent insurance. Whole life is one.
Okay.
So whole life, you get the dividends and such, but the dividends only mean that the insurance company is refunding you what you overpaid on the insurance, right? Then you have the universal, you have the variable, you have indexed universal, and then you have that joint policy or survivorship where both people have to die for that policy to pay out to the beneficiaries. So you have various types of permanent insurance. And that's what I'm saying when you sit with your advisor and you look at, so let's say here on Caribbean Feedback, you're all in partnership, right? So this is one type of insurance policy that you can look at. So you would get insurance policies on each of you, or at least on the key people, that's called key man policy, that the business continues even if something happens. It's succession, right? Even if something happens. So there are many different ways that you can use life insurance to build your wealth and your business.
I found it interesting
Go ahead, Karin, go ahead.
I found it interesting that money accrues on a tax deferred basis for the whole life. That's true?
Yes. So insurance like pre-exist like the tax codes, right? So it's grandfathered into the tax code because it existed prior to that when they came up with all the IRS codes and such. So insurance has where it's deemed that you cannot tax an insurance policy when it's accruing or when it's paying out. Now the government came up with some rules around the 1980s when pensions and such started to go out. Then now the burden was on you, the individual, to figure out your own retirement, right? Because you used to have some really good pension plans, not in our time now, right? So they put the burden on you to figure that out. So when it was noticed that, whoa, then people are really using life insurance and they were really benefiting, this was a good thing, then the government put rules on it. So you have to know, and your advisor and the insurance company will help you as well to know, like, let's say, for example, you have a certain amount of cash value that is accruing, then there are certain ways that you can access that without being taxed. If you don't go by those rules, then yes, you can be taxed because the government put those guidelines on it.
So you answered my question there, what I wanted to find out about the tax, whether or not the government would tax a policy if it's left to beneficiaries, if they are now going to be taxed on that money, or if it's just paid out in full. Right.
At the event where the person dies and now it's for the beneficiary, it's not
Yes,
tax. It's tax.
it's not tax.
Okay. Yeah.
When
you access when let's say you're getting married or your child grows up and you want to send them to college or start a business or whatever it is that they endeavor, right? You want to buy a house or something, then you can access the cash value. But as a loan, then it doesn't get taxed. If you say I'm going to withdraw it, they'll tax you for it. So you have to know the rules on how to play so that you can win.
So I think I asked you this earlier on whether or not a policy could be considered an investment. Building up a policy that can be considered an investment for the next generation.
No, you can't. And I know, Karin, that you want to say it's an investment in yourself, but technically, as a state regulated, a licensed financial professional, I can't say that. No,
I still say it. I still say it.
Right, you can say it, but I can't say that. Life insurance is not an investment, and I'm not even licensed to manage investments, so I don't even speak into that. But life insurance is not. I can share with you some of what life insurance does, though. Life insurance is a contract between you and an insurance company. There's no middleman there. Nobody else knows about it unless you tell them about it, right? So sometimes when you go nowadays to apply for a loan or something like that, they'll ask you outright if you have a life insurance policy. If you don't tell people, they don't know. And so what I advise my clients when we sit and they execute a policy is, okay, so now we're writing a letter to the person who you'd like to know that this is in place. And so in the event of anything, in the event of life uncertainties happen, then these people can know, reach out to me and I can help them know how to go about it. And so
one of our listeners, she said it's not a good idea to borrow on a life insurance policy. That's a sentiment that a lot of people have, that it's not a wise thing because you're going to end up being penalized in some way, shape, or form. Could you elaborate a bit on this for us?
Absolutely. It's a great point to make. It's a great question. So I would ask, well, when you need money, how do you access it? Do you use your own money? Because on any level, you're financing, whether you're self-financing or you're using somebody else's money and paying finances on that. Because when you use your money and that money goes out of your hands, you not only let that money out of your hands, you've also lost the earning power that money could have earned you. So let's say you're doing something and you need the loan, right? If you go borrow it from the bank and you're paying 12% interest versus if you're borrowing it from your life insurance company and you're paying 4% interest. Well, if you're paying 4%, this is just an example. If you're paying 4%, but the insurance company is giving you 5, 6, 7, 8%, you're still coming out the winner. And then you didn't lose the earning power of your money. You didn't break that compounding effect on your money. So you come out way ahead. So just remember that when you're using your own money, you're still self-financing. And now you've lost the power of what that could have earned you.
What are annuities in your industry?
So annuities is a different type of planning tool, a financial planning tool. And so normally when let's say you have a lump sum of money that you'd like to just tuck away, then it's not money that you want to access right away. This is what we tell our clients. It's money that you want to put aside to work for you on your behalf. So annuities is a different type of financial vehicle that can help you in your retirement ages.
And it pays you an income over time? Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then depending on the annuity and such, because, you just may live longer, right? So we will show our clients how to access the things that they should access up front. Like, let's say, for example, like someone is on a job, they have 401ks or other qualified plans, right? So you perhaps already know about the 59.5 rule, that when you have your 401ks, then you can't access the money before age 59.5. But I think Mr. Trump had changed that so that you can access it without that 10% penalty because of the hardships that was happening and such.
Speaking
And then
of penalty, there's a penalty for mentioning that name right here, right now.
That's
What?
okay. We can rise above. And so then there's the other rule. Most people know about what used to be that 59.5 rule because they've at some point in time had hardships and wanted to access it. So they know about that.
Empress Judith, Andrea also wants to know, will the policy decrease in value if it's not paid back before you die? If you borrow out of that and you do not pay it back before your death, will the policy then decrease?
Right, exactly. If you don't pay back, which that's never a good thing, we advise people, pay yourself first in the first place. Pay yourself first with the interest that you would have paid had you gotten the money from the bank. So we advise people on that. But yes, if you access the money and then because it's unstructured loan payments, that means the insurance company won't be calling you to say, hey, remember, you borrowed some money and now you owe. It's not structured. You pay it back when you choose to pay it back. But yes, should you die before you pay it back, then it's going to be subtracted from the death benefit, from the cash value. I'm sorry. It's subtracted from the cash value. And so that changes the way the compounding works on it.
So Empress, one of the things I'd like for you to give us before you leave, I want you to tell us what are the best companies, insurance companies in the US right now, that if we should just decide to go take out a policy, not based on what the price may be, but based on the history of that company. I don't know if you're allowed to do this within your field. What are some of the best companies in the US right now? And tell us how you as an individual can help us and how we can get to you.
Well, there are a few very, very good quality companies with integrity, and that stands with your best interest at heart. Most of them, when you reach out to them, they would refer you to a local advisor anyway, right? So even if I say some names, which, that wouldn't be right because I represent quite a few companies. And so even if I said some names, they would still refer you to the local agent to help them. And that would, of course, you can reach me and I can show you. Because when I sit with a client and we're looking at what the client is wanting to design as a policy and as a legacy plan, a greater prosperity plan. So use GPS as a different way, a greater prosperity plan. So when we're sitting to do that, then I will take the information and I will look at what is the product that will work best for you in your best interest. And so it may be this one thing for one person, it may be this one company for you, it may be a different company and a different one for someone else.
So tell us, Empress Judith, where can viewers find you? Give us your social media links, telephone number.
Okay.
And tell us how we can reach out to you.
Well, the easiest way is to wealthmessengers.com. And you can always contact us through there. That's the easiest way to get to us. You can schedule right there on our calendar if you'd like to have a complimentary consultation, anything like that. We can certainly do that. I'm also on Facebook. We have a private group for women, Breaking the Broke, where we expand on this topic and much more for helping people.
What is your link? What is your link on Facebook?
Breaking the Broke is the group name. It's a private group.
Okay, Breaking the Broke. The Broke on Facebook.
Yes.
Are you on any other social media platforms?
Not yet as a business, no.
Okay. Any telephone number that people can reach
I'm
you?
working on it. Well, now with the pandemic and such, if you go right on my website, wealthmessengers.com, you can see the various ways to get to me there.
Okay, repeat that name for
Right
us
now
once
it's
again,
my
please.
appointment, so
Repeat that information for us once again, please, the website.
Okay, so it's www.wealth, WEALTH, messengers.com, MESSENGERS.com.
Wealthmessengers.com, where you can contact Empress Judith Smith for all the advice, all the proper advice as far as your health insurance needs. Once again, it's each one reach one, each one teach one, and that is the purpose of us here with this platform. Empress Judith, thank you once again for joining us this evening, and I really hope I'll be calling you because I have a policy here, and I'm not going to drop it because I'm not going to lose the money that I already paid into that policy, but I will be calling you just to chit chat and make sure that I'm hold on. Is there a consultation fee for talking to you? I don't want. Okay.
No, there isn't. And that's
I don't want to
that
call you and spend an hour on the phone and then I get an invoice.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, Empress Judith.
We do review policies so that we can help you know how yours is working for you.
Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Have a one. All right. Thank you.
Wow.
Into the commercial, Sam. Into the commercial straight. Let's keep it rolling.
We're rolling.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis Henry. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people asked, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chat? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chat. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sitting in with us, Dr. Judith. Could you please introduce yourself? Tell us what artworks you've been working on lately.
Hi. I just finished actually on Easter Sunday. I did a painting with a cross, and the cross that's now empty. And I posted it on Facebook. It was well received. And other than that, I'm on spring break, so I'm not really doing much. But normally I write. I write. I paint. I'm a paraprofessional. I work with special needs children, and that is perhaps the highlight for me, is working with special needs children. It's really it's a privilege to work with children who have special needs, and they need you in unique ways. And it's an opportunity to do, to me, work of the heart. It's a special job. So basically, that's it.
No room for special needs adults, huh?
No, adults are too much trouble.
It's wrong with a tonight.
Adults are too much trouble.
Okay, now the tables are a bit balanced right now, Sam. We have 2 Trini men and two Jamaican females. Yes, we had an extra one tonight that brought on a little bit of tension because only aggressive, but you know.
It tipped the balance. It tipped the balance.
Yeah, it tipped the scale. It's a little more balanced right now with the
What tension you talking about?
2 Jamaican females and 1 Jamaican man. Two Trini men and 2 Jamaican females.
So how is it 2 Jamaican females and men? Why not 2 Jamaican women and 2 Jamaican men? You said it 3 times, which is why I'm taking issue with it. I don't know why that you make that
distinction. It's a serious point because I often say that it's one thing to be a female, but another thing to be a woman. And that there are a lot of males walking around, but not a lot of men. So why
you didn't say it in that negative form when you spoke about women? That a lot of females, but not a lot of women. Why you had to say, well, it have a lot of males, but not a lot of men?
Same thing. A lot of females and not a lot of. Some people just age; they don't mature, and so therefore, I consider them males or females when they don't mature. When they mature, I consider them men and women. Is that okay with you now? Feel better?
Yeah, it doesn't sound as hostile as what you said prior.
I wasn't speaking with any hostility. You perceive that because you're crazy.
See, there you go. There you go with the name calling. You see, half of the time, what we as individuals, as business partners, as couples need to understand is that a lot of times we're on the same team. And so many times we get into these cat and dog fights, not realizing that we are, in fact, on the same team. And by us unifying, coming in unity, we have what we call strength in numbers, which is what we here to discuss on the second half of the show this evening.
That's right. 3 females and 2 males.
In numbers. Strength in numbers to me simply means that a group of people has more influence or power than one person. Tonight, we're here to discuss the collective we, as opposed to the sole individual I. I remember some years ago, I took my 4 eldest children I had a van then, and I took them in the van. I had no idea where the conversation was going, but I tried to give them that message in terms of strength in numbers. And I took out some sticks like this from the flags. I separated it and I took the stick like this. And I gave it to my eldest son, Jamal, and I said, break it. And he looked at me like, what? Snap, and he broke it. I repeated the same request to the other 3, and they broke it. I sat there quietly for a while. They looked at me like, okay, where you going with this? So I reached back, and now I took 4 sticks, and I put them together. And I handed it to him, and I said, now break this. And he was about to hit it on something. I said, stop, pass it down. And my second son, Salim, he said, oh, I see where you're going with this. I said, really? And they all nodded their heads. So I asked the littlest one, Imani, I said, where am I going with this? And she explained, as individuals, we can be broken. But if we come together as one unit, it will be more difficult for anyone to break us apart. I said, there you go. And that lesson I passed on to them in terms of strength in numbers. I don't know whether or not they remember that, but I did pass that lesson on to them. Strength in numbers. There's also an African proverb to the effect where it's a whole bundle of sticks don't break. Something to that effect, meaning when you come together, form that unity, form that bond, it's harder for anyone to pull us apart. This was also evident in 2008, where Barack Obama became the first person of African descent to sit in the highest office in this land as president of these United States of America. It showed what happened when we, the collective, came together and lend our support and voted, whether or not you believe in the electoral process, for what it is the people wanted, and put him in office. We also know, as a great player, Michael Jordan, who was a great player, and LeBron James, who is a good player, neither of them could have won an NBA championship by themselves. It took, once again, strength in numbers to form a team for them to prevail. And yet still, with all these examples that are set before us, we as a people still seem to have great difficulty when it comes to uniting as a people for the common good of ourselves. Panelists, can any of you please tell us at any point of time in your life where you saw a true example of strength in numbers?
Yeah, man, many times. Many times. You know, like you're driving your car and you're shut down on the road, but you're kind of in the middle of the road and you're trying to push the car off the road out of the way so other cars could pass. And it had to push by yourself, but then 3 or 4 other individuals will jump out of their cars and then they'll come and help you push so you can push and guide the vehicle off the main road so that other cars can pass, and then they shake your hand and say, well, good luck with that. Because they're on a mission. And you might have one person that might say, you have a phone to call for what's the people that be calling on the road?
AAA.
AAA. Yeah, AAA. You have a AAA plan, you have a AAA number, where you're going on. And or you know, you might need to get the police department that may come and also give you a hand. So you know, that is a clear. I've seen that many times here in the US and also in the Caribbean, where you know, where more people will come, and you also see the ants do it. You know, if you have a piece of bread that's too heavy for one ant to carry, you know, he'll go and whistle the other fellas, or I know what the signal will be. And the next thing you see about 120 ants come through. And they watch it and they all have a little conversation and they do everything. And next thing all of them go and they pick up that one piece of bread. And we say, all right, fellas, we're moving. And they take it to where it had to go. So
that ant is that's one of the finest examples I've seen. I've studied ants on that level and look at them and how they work together. Because winter is coming. And they don't sit there and eat the food on the spot. They don't eat the bread.
No.
They break up that bread in pieces and take it back to the nest. Because it's not just about that individual eating, it's about the whole colony of ants having to eat for the entire winter. So they know that winter is coming, and then it's difficult to come out and search for food in the winter. So while they're out there in the spring and the summer, they take food back to the colony for the collective we. I didn't mean to cut in on you on that.
That's all right. Are we saying that ants are communists?
No, they are a perfect example for us as human beings who claim to be the most intelligent.
Because some people might think that breaking your bread off right there and eating it one time is democracy. So I'm just curious, you know, I just thought I'd just throw that in. But I thought those would be 2 interesting examples. And the main example that I see is that, you know, with Caribbean Feedback, we're all from different aspects in the media world. We have different services and products. And we're all here together on Caribbean Feedback, strengthening our numbers and strengthening our efforts to with the podcast. So I think this is a really good example of us coming together, right, Dr. Judith? And,
yes, sir.
I'm
in full agreement with you.
You're in full agreement. You in full agreement tonight.
You're speaking the truth. You're speaking the truth.
All right. Yes. So,
no,
so
I see she started to laugh. She started to
Mm.
laugh when you talk about ants just now, and I wouldn't allow anybody to laugh or insult my ants. No, I take that very seriously because I learned from them.
Okay.
I learned from
Whatever,
them.
man. That made no sense, but all right.
What made no sense?
You learn your ants. When you say your ants, what do you mean by your ants?
They're my ants, man. They're my ants.
Whatever, man.
They bite you good too.
If you have some red ants or some bachak, yeah, you get a good little vibes.
So go ahead, Karin. Let me hear.
No, when we decided on this topic, I was just sort of driven in a different direction. I remember learning about Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail about 6-7 months ago. I'd heard of it before, but somebody referred to it, and I thought, I've never actually read it. And I read it 2 days ago. And so much of what he said in that letter resonated with me about how we are interrelated and how we're interconnected, all our communities and states. And even if we look at it from a global level, how we're all interconnected. And so more often than not, sometimes we forget that. And truth be told, a situation like what we've been experiencing over the last year, the pandemic, has brought us to a point where we have to look at that again. We have to see that we're connected. If one group is not safe, the rest are not either. You know, we have entire groups of people all over the world suffering, and because we're not seeing it day to day, we forget that we're all interconnected. A lot of what he said in that letter truly held my attention, you know. So that is where I was going with that, you know. We need to create like a constructive, what he refers to as create a constructive tension, you know, to come together and actually make some changes in our world so that everyone can get better as a whole. You know, I don't mean to get preachy or anything in this place, but you know, I think it's really important that we remember that we are a part of a global community. One of the main things that the World Health Organization keeps drilling, they almost do daily live webinars. Countries that are able to afford the vaccines have sort of hoarded supplies of it, more than they need. And they don't care about, you know, certain areas of the world that cannot afford it, cannot afford the high prices being charged by those pharmaceutical companies. There's no regulation in place at this time. They can charge whatever they want, and it's the richer countries can pay for it, and the poorer ones. And they call it equity. There's a lack of equity in that situation, and literally these large organizations have to approach these major capitalist countries and say, look, you have more than enough supply for your population and then some. Release some of that and allow us to distribute it all over the world. Why should they have to ask for that? You know, so those are the types of things I looked at when I saw, and I looked at us as a global community. You know, there's this theologian called Reinhold Niebuhr. He was a political commentator. He was born in the 1870s and he died in 1971. He wrote several books about it as well, where he says that groups tend to be more immoral than individuals. And these are things that I looked at very closely when you think of these very large, powerful countries that are unwilling to share their resources, even if they have more than enough, at a time where we're all in danger.
Interesting twist there. We're all connected. New York telephone.
No, no.
Yeah, you all don't know that commercial?
Down the world.
Speaking about connection, it reminded me. I saw a video of an African American brother who said that he relocated to Ghana, and he said he doesn't, for the first time in his life, he doesn't feel like a black man because he simply exists as a human being.
Right.
In Africa, because there's no distinction when he goes to the shop. There's no distinction when he goes to the store. There's no discrimination. He doesn't feel that his son is in danger.
He's being watched.
When there's a police car in the back coming up the street, where you feel, in America, a lot of people tend to claim that they feel safe under the red, white, and blue. I say, yeah, unless it's flashing in your rearview mirror. Then all of a sudden you don't feel safe anymore. So when you spoke about that, it reminded me of this brother's comments, that how different he felt and what some of those differences were with him now living on the continent of Africa. So that's a rather interesting perspective on things.
I remember even someone as high profile as Oprah, this is at least 15 years ago, on her show, mentioned that, she's so well known here, step into like a huge, what is that area in Hollywood, very rich area, Beverly Hills. I'm sorry, it just slipped me for a moment. And goes to a store and they're like, click, click. You know what I mean? Not allowing her to come in. And she mentions going to a country like Ghana and being just welcome, and not that they don't know her, but there was no sense of indifference or can you afford to come into this store type of behavior. So even very wealthy people, people of color, have experienced these dilemmas where they have to just sort of step back and try to be calm about it.
Dr. Judith.
Quiet tonight, Dr. Judith. Dr. Judith, are you quiet today?
Dr. Judith Lyman.
There's actually a show on right now called Soul of a Nation. And I'm going to see if I can watch it. I sent the message out to a few people. I sent it on Facebook and to a few people that I know personally to watch it. And it's talking about 100 years ago today, or this year, that they had this town where blacks were thriving and everything was going well, and the whites were angry about it, and they went in and burnt them out and all the rest of it. So they have a thing on it tonight called Soul of a Nation. And it kind of makes sense now with Floyd.
It was more than burning them; they actually bombed them from above.
Yeah, well, they talked about fire when I first heard about it. But anyway, that whole idea about community, about responsibility, I grew up with a sense of that it's not me alone, and perhaps that has to do with coming from a large family. There were 9 of us children. And so that's where my first experience with, no matter disagreements or whatever you have, the unity in numbers. But it's not just unity in numbers, it's unity of a common idea, a common thread. And Curtis talked about the state. My father used matches, and he said one is easily broken, and the more you put together, it's harder to break them. So we grew up with that sense that, so no matter how we had issues and still do, we always came back to that group thing, that unity, because that's the way we were raised. But I totally agree with what you're saying, Karin. I read some of the Birmingham letter from Birmingham jail. I wanted to read the whole thing before I came on tonight, but got distracted by a lot of things. But I have a particular admiration for King, because I think he's one of the few people, and this is my mindset, one of the few people besides Jesus Christ that knew he was going to die. He knew he was going to be killed. King knew he was going to be killed, and he didn't stop. And that impresses me, because he could have gone on and sold out and done a lot of things differently had he just taken a different tact. He went to Jamaica at one point, and you can see him in a pool at a resort, and his comment was, "This is the first time I feel like a man," because of where he was. But that sense of it's not me alone. It's so needed now because there's a high level of insensitivity and selfishness that's taking place now.
And violence.
Well, the violence comes about when there's no value. I mean, even George Floyd, there's no. Somebody said it today. That man, after he got up off his neck, walked around and was just like, okay, guys, let's go. We're finished here. To the other police officers and stuff, it meant absolutely nothing to him because he didn't see any value in that man's life. Absolutely. So the more and more you're seeing that people have very little value, but it has to do with this whole millennial thing. These young people don't have any value on people's life. People in their 30s, and they tend not to have any great value. But the biggest thing that you said, Karin, is what I strive for it. I talk to people about it. Is this understanding that you're not in this alone, that there are other people out here. And for me, that includes encouraging people. I'm talking about strangers. I'm talking about people that I don't know who they are. I remember one morning I came out of the post office. It was winter time here in Georgia. And I walked out of the post office. It was still dark. And as I was walking out, I saw this big, burly white guy walk into his truck. I was going in. And so as I saw him walk into his truck, and this guy looked like he was at the point of killing himself. That's how, don't know him, but that's how he looked to me. And the Spirit said to me, go say so. I said, no, Lord. It's still dark out. It's this white guy gonna want to watch this black woman bothering him. I don't want any problems. I'm not speaking to him. And of course, I had to go because that's the life I live. That's the life I've chosen. And I went over to him at a good distance. I said, hey, good morning. He looked at me like, yeah, what you want? I mean, that's how he looked at me. But I thought he was about 6'5", big guy. So I said, oh, Lord, help me. I'm dead now. So he said, yeah. I said, listen, you're not allowed to leave here until you smile. Let me tell you something. That big boy started smiling and got into his truck. Now, before that, he was the furthest thing from a smile. I have no idea what was going on. I have no idea if there was something. In fact, my spirit said it was. My sense of responsibility to my community, which is the world. I said to myself, why don't you just leave people alone? I can't and I won't. Because it's not just me. So what you're saying there is something that it bothers me how people say, oh, Judith, stop it. What are you doing all of that for? The lady that Karin works, his boss, yesterday he was going to work and I'm home for the week. So I made some butter and cheese. I made some for him. And I had some patties. Yes, man. And I found out you can toast it lightly and put some butter and then put the cheese.
Stop it. Stop it. You didn't send any. Stop it.
Listen to her. Stop it.
Take a little picture and send it for me once in a while. Man.
All right. I'll do that next time.
Are you moving so with a little bun and cheese and things?
Oh, who said liquor? It never said liquor. Never said liquor.
A big bun and cheese. Big bun and cheese.
Big bun and cheese.
That's right.
What a you are.
But Judith, let me ask you something.
I'm sorry. Let me just finish what I was saying about that. So I sent it for her. Karin, I don't want to carry no package because he's a male, still growing into become a man. He don't want to carry a package. I said, oh, shut up. Just take the thing. And she texted me and she said, thank you. That is so thoughtful of you. It's not because I know her. I would do the same thing for a stranger. But what I'm saying that to say, I don't need any kudos for that. I don't need any applause. But I'm simply saying is I'm in agreement with you. We have a community responsibility. And we are missing that. That's why because let me tell you one thing I know. And this I have to say. If I were in that place, Minnesota, that he had his knee on his neck, they would have tased me. They would have shot me. He couldn't sit there that long because I would have pushed him. I'd have jumped on his back. I don't care what. It couldn't happen. But we have gotten so lazy. We have gotten so non-committal. It's shocking.
So indifferent to another person's suffering.
So indifferent. Because that wasn't just, that's some serious crap that was going on there.
The shocking thing, I understand why the bystanders would be scared to death to put their lives in danger, because they would be tased, they would be maybe shot. But the cops, the other cops that were in agreement with what he was doing,
well, one of them was trying to stop him.
That's
but at least one of them was trying to stop him. But he didn't, he felt no compunction. I mean, listen, I'm telling you, I know me because I've stopped on the street and gotten involved in stuff. They would have to shoot me dead. I couldn't, because I'm telling you, when I watched it, I bawled like a baby. And all I'm thinking, could I have been, I wish I could have been there. They'd have to kill me. Because you cannot, and what gets me with it is this boldness, this arrogance that he did it. And I found out that putting in his hand in his pocket, he was further pressing the guy down when he had his hand in the pocket. So, like I said, my sense of community, it goes way beyond what other people might think. And I'm not particularly concerned about what people think about it, because in order for me to live a full life, I got to do it. Sorry, Dr. Henry. Go ahead, sir.
What I was trying to ask you, you did speak a little bit on it. And what I was trying to ask you, that if you think that our efforts or results here in our own communities could affect how people behave on a global level.
Yeah, because, let me tell you one of the things that disturbs me. People keep saying, well, people have to do it, and society society is not a building. And if it takes one, if I am not convinced that it starts with me, you can forget it. That's the problem. The individual is waiting for a group to form. And then when the group is formed, there were enough people out there that day to come together and bash that man in his head. I'm saying beat up all them 3 cops, guns or not. But we don't risk anything anymore because we're so interested in the individual. The bottom line for me, and I have to say this because it's been bugging me. Well, I don't bugging is the word. It just, I carry it every day. Since my mother's death, my excitement about life has just dwindled. I'm not depressed as such or whatever, but I see very much point in doing this anymore. Why? I'm eventually going to die. I mean, that's just being real. And so I have all these things in my head, but I have a responsibility to my son. I have a responsibility to people around me not to fall down on this belief that I have and this way of life that I've been living. If I give that up, there are people watching me who it's going to affect. So I continue to struggle, and it's hard some days because I'm getting my house refloored right now, and I'm saying, why bother? Why bother? I'm going to leave it. What's the big deal? And I'm not saying that for effect. I'm just telling you because that's exactly how I feel. But I'm going along with it because as long as I'm going to be here, like the insurance thing, I'm still paying it. But the truth of the matter is that my sense of life and worth is not just about me. It's extended across from family. There are people at the job that I treat most people as best as I can well, and they don't understand why I'm nice to them, especially when I know they're not particularly crazy about me. I have a responsibility to live a decent life and to treat people well.
A lot of people live their lives on a certain premise that they will not give without the thought of reciprocity, and right. I don't come from that mindset. You can give without the thought of getting back sometimes.
Oh, of course.
It's okay. It's all right to just You know,
listen, one of the best
time.
tests of that for me, several people said to me, you remember when you gave me this in but what a year? I said, let me explain this to you. I can barely remember what I did yesterday. You want me to remember what I gave to you in 1986? Are you crazy? So the thing is that when you just give out of training, out of heart, out of, you know, this is where you choose to live. You don't have any time limits on it. You're not looking for, reciprocity, like you said. You're not looking for somebody to say, oh, she was so, I go in the supermarket one day and this lady's in front of me. I say, hey, you want to pay for my grocery? No, I was just messing with the lady. The lady said, yes. I said, no. I said, no, I was joking. She said, no. She said, no, please. I was like, oh, God, what did I do? She said, please let me do it. I said, but no, I was just kidding with you. She said, ma'am, I was led to do that for somebody before and I didn't do it. And I've been ashamed about that ever since. Please let me pay for it.
Mercy.
And she paid for my grocery. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was, And then, but you see, I didn't tell her I've done that for somebody before. I will see somebody say, hey, let me pay for that. And the truth of the matter is that I can tell you guys that however you express yourselves in community and in terms of relational issues, doing something for other people does more for me than I do for them. It's a clean feeling. I mean, I'm not like, whoa, see what I did. Let me go on Facebook and tell them what I did. No. It's just a matter of community. It's connectedness. This lady was in front of me. I said, and the cashier said to her, that's all yours, right? You finished. I said, no, she's got some more here, meaning mine. So the lady said, oh, I wish I could. I said, I'm just kidding you. Now, I didn't want a replay of what the other lady had done because, honest to God, if she did it, I'd be like, no, I'd probably run to the store because there's a certain amount of taking. I get to a quarter and I don't want any more. I'm not good at taking, which is something I had to learn. I had to learn to do. But this thing
rather than thinking of it as taking, just simply think of it as receiving. If you're good at giving, you should be fine with receiving.
I agree. Because I had to get to that. That's something that I've had to, the Lord has taught me, is that, Judith, it is not healthy that you do all the giving because then that's not fair to the other person. But like I said, you're talking about something that I have a wealth of concern and whatever about this thing, this selfishness, this whole thing with the virus. Oh, that's a whole bunch of crap, it's not going to help anybody. Those masks going to help anybody. Why don't you just stop? There's no disease, there's no virus. So those people who have lost their family, they didn't lose anything. They didn't really die. They're just sitting someplace all over the world and, they're not buried. They're not dead. And so that alone irritates the crap out of me, that people are sitting around saying, this thing is not real. But yet 500,000 people are dead. And I've been affected by it. So to tell me that it's not real, it made me want to go a little crazy, but that's it.
But getting back to strength in numbers, one of the things that stand out most for me, I remember when I lived in Germany back in the early 80s, the Berlin Wall that separated East and West Germany. At one point in time, this big, mighty wall that people dared even go close to. And it didn't take one individual to bring it down. It took a people united on both sides of the fence. It took a worldwide effort. People coming together and say, you know what, enough is enough. It's time for this thing to go. And they went there with pickaxes, hammers, whatever they could find, and begin to chip away until that wall started coming down brick by brick, piece by piece. And now any remnants of that exists is for historical purposes, but it's gone. And it shows what strength in numbers can do when we come together for a common good, for a common cause, and stop thinking as individuals. Like Sam said earlier, that one ant couldn't carry that whole piece of bread.
Right.
So he had to send out the signal and bring in the troops to now take that entire piece of bread back to the colony. So once again, strength in numbers. Go ahead, Karen. You're about to say something.
No, just to add on to what you just said. What is it going to take? Or I'm curious and I'm concerned. You know, what is it going to take for us as a people of color? I'm going to keep on saying that, because what is it going to take for us to chip away or to get rid of that, not that physical wall, but certainly the wall that has developed in this country in particular, that wall of hatred, that wall of violence, that wall that has allowed us to always see ourselves as victims when we're looking at authority figures, you know, like police officers on the road. We know that we're not entering certain neighborhoods after certain times of night. We're still in a situation where it's as if we're back 100 and 150 years.
We need re-education. We need re-education. We talk about being brainwashed, but I think we need to be brainwashed. Our brains need to be washed of some of the poison that has been put into it. We use words like minorities to describe ourselves and not realizing how, what's the word? Is that a word? How much we put ourselves back when we look at ourselves in this light, that we are a minority. You hear people talk about, oh, well, he said this and I know it's only because I'm black, or he called me black. So what if he called you black? Aren't you black? It's because some of us get offended because we see being called black as an offense. We see it as something bad. So when somebody say to us, oh, we get upset. Some white person or racist police officer, oh, you black, so and so, and okay. You really thought that was going to offend me, right? You really thought that? No, I embrace that. I embrace being called black. I embrace being called an African. That's not an insult to me. So overall, as a people, we need to be brainwashed. We need to clear some of that cobwebs and poison that we have going on upstairs, where we stop seeing each other as enemies, but as brothers and sisters, as friends. And then, only then we could come together. Sam talked about the car in the road a moment ago. So many people would just drive around because, you know why? That ain't got nothing to do with me. Not realizing by that car being in the road, how much people it's going to keep back. Right? But you're not concerned about them, right? Once you could get around and go on about your journey, then it's okay. Let them worry about that. But there are few of us. We're not all lost. There are few of us within that traffic journey that will come out and say, you know what? Let me help you push that car to the side of the road. Because not only is it helping me, it's helping the other 150 cars behind that are going to be slowed up in traffic. And that's the point. We need to stop. We need to check egos at the door. Check our egos at the door. And stop thinking as individuals and start to think about the collective we. And then, and only then, we could progress as a cohesive unit, as a people. And stop thinking about the I, about the one individual. That's where it begins.
But the thing is that one individual has to, like Dr. King did, these days, Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson has gone, by the way, because he's ill, he's medically ill. But there was a time in this country where blacks in the public eye, like King and so forth, would talk unity. We have people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton is going to go march for somebody because somebody was killed or abused by the cops or something. He has a fee. I don't know if he still does now, but he has a fee that he charges the people that call him to go march. No such thing happened when King marched. And so
Judith, one of the things I'm cutting you. No, I'm not going to say sorry for cutting you. This is one of the things here. Now, Al Sharpton has or had his purpose, and no one can sit and tell me he didn't do a lot of good. A lot of people may have disagreed with how he went about certain things, but he served a good purpose in the community.
No, listen.
A lot of the situation, we won't even know about it if it wasn't for him.
Dr. Henry, I am not saying he did not serve a good purpose. I'm saying when your motive is tainted, the crap is going to come out. It's going to supersede whatever good you said you started out with. His crap is out. You understand? I understand. Exposure of things had to happen. We had to see certain things. We already saw them. As a community, as individuals, we need, when we see something going on, to speak of it and not wait for Al Sharpton. Because the bottom line is, after a while, when you depend on people like Al Sharpton, whose motives are tainted, and I will, just like you continue to say, I'll continue to say that about him. When you rely on somebody like that, they start taking on demigod status. They start behaving in ways that is not even healthy for the group. It becomes about him. I have no problem saying that he has exposed certain things.
The very same way you praised Dr. King today, Dr. King was vilified in his time.
No, but Dr. King, but it was never about money with him. Okay, it was never about money with him, and that's my problem. Okay, if you cannot march with a group of people, because remember, it's the cause. It's not you, like you said. It's not me, Al Sharpton. It's the cause. It's the group that I represent and I'm standing with. So if you need money to go march, and
but
you don't go march because you don't get the money.
Talk about Dr. King too, but this is not what I do or what I'm going to do in terms of vilifying any leader or
it's
somebody
who has vilification.
It's
no. This is what's killing black people.
That whole march on Washington, we could talk about that. That didn't start with Dr. King. That started on the streets. That started on the streets. We were marching on Washington. No different from the people who marched on Washington the other day. And what they did, they called Dr. King and put him at the head of that march so that it could be civil. And no, we won't have a lot of black people marching into Washington. That's part of the story that hasn't been told. But I'm not going to go there. We're going to talk about
what do you mean? What do you mean it hasn't been told? Who says that part of the story hasn't been told?
No, because everybody talk about the march and and it's good and we shall overcome. But we didn't talk about the people that want to go marching in Washington to make change.
I do not put any human being. I don't put any human being on a pedestal, including Dr. King.
Agreed.
I like to deal with truth and facts.
At the same time,
and I'm still gonna say to you,
we will find.
Do you remember?
Everybody, and I'm not gonna.
Everybody has faults. Yeah, that's
one moment. One moment.
That's not the problem. Listen,
nothing can be heard.
When Barack Obama got elected, do you remember what Jesse Jackson said about him? See, the problem is that we don't want to. I'm taking one case at a time. As black folks, until we stop with the self-hate, until we stop when a person like Sharpton or whoever keep doing the same thing over again, and we back them no matter what they're doing wrong, we keep backing them. When Barack Obama won, do you know what Reverend Jesse Jackson said about him? I know what he said before he won. What did he say? When they were in a meeting and he didn't know that he was mic'd, and the comment that he made, and he said Barack is talking down to black people and what he would want to do with him. That comment is what on that. No, that was before he was elected. That was his personal opinion. He just didn't know that it was mic'd. Well, guess what? You see, you're talking double. It's either we're together or we're not. For him to have that opinion at that stage, doesn't that sound divisive to you? No, anybody is entitled to an opinion. He didn't come and make a public statement. You can have your opinion, but it's divisive. It wasn't a public statement. It happened to leak out because he was mic'd. See what you just said? That's the problem. We don't live a life as if the mic is always on. How many other folks? The mic is always on. Made statements. No, the mic is always on. Only Jesse Jackson's statement got out. The mic is always on, Curtis Henry. If you don't mean it, don't say it. And elevating the other. If you don't mean it, don't say it. He shouldn't have said it. Bringing one down. Why not? There were other people who said other things. I don't care. That got out. I don't care. That's the only statement that got out. Jesse Jackson's, and why did they do it? To bring one down. So why are you defending that? Why am I defending what? Why aren't you saying that he could disagree with him without saying that? Without what? Without what he said. No, what Jesse Jackson said about Barack Obama. Why aren't you saying he had a right to his opinion, but why could he not? Why did he have to say that? He could say whatever he wants. Okay. Anyone could say whatever they want. Then don't preach unity, because one of the things that unity demands is some kind of discernment and some kind of wisdom about what we say and how we say it and where we say it. And the mic is always on. Okay, tell me about where he said, but don't tell me he don't have a right to say that. I
That's
didn't
his
say he
opinion.
didn't have
He
a
can say what he
right.
wants.
Did not listen to me. I didn't say he didn't have a right. I'm saying when you speak in unity, your language changes. The way you do things change. Where you're seeing changes. When you have unity, it's not about you. You consider what you're saying, where you're saying it, and when you're saying it. That's how
I
I
agree
view
with you on
unity.
that. I agree
Okay?
with you on that in terms of where
So
it
he
was said.
caused, so nobody had to broadcast it. The fact that he said it and said it around people that don't look like him and me, that's his problem. Because the truth of the matter, Jesse Jackson's son in Chicago got into trouble for some of the same things, and they locked his behind up and locked his wife up. What we have to start doing as Black people is stop covering for each other. When I worked in the prison system, a Black guy I saw him choking a white inmate. My job as a mandated reporter was to report it. I didn't remember that. I just totally forgot I was supposed to report it. So the white inmate told the people in charge that I saw what happened. And I did see what happened. On my way out of the prison that day, they stopped me. I said, what happened? They wanted to know, did I witness this? I said, yes. They said, why didn't you report? I said, I'm sorry. I totally forgot that I'm supposed to report anything like that I see. They brought a guy from Tallahassee, and he told me, we can lock you up. I said, let me tell you something. Don't threaten me. Now, that the fact that he was 6 foot something on Caucasian didn't mean a damn thing to me. Excuse me. It didn't mean anything to me. Because what I said to him, I said, listen, I was in error not reporting it. It was not something I didn't want to. It's that I totally forgot that I was supposed to. I said, now I've admitted to that. Get out of my face. Don't threaten me with locking me up. I have now told you, yes, I'm sorry, I saw it. After that, the Black guys, the officers, as well as the inmates, you know what they call me? Snitch. I don't care what you want to call me. Next thing, when I went into work one day, there's a big old rock next to my car. It wasn't there before when I parked it. And the Black officers were threatening me and telling. So one officer said to me, he was coming in, I was going home, he said, the officers are not pleased with you. And they're angry the fact that I said, let me explain this to you. I told the truth. If you have a problem with that, that's between you and whoever you serve. But I have no regrets about what I said. I was asked if I saw the incident. The bottom line, I said to him, the bottom line is this. You should be grateful that I told the truth. Because if I saw a white officer or a white inmate doing that to you, I would report it also. My thing is that I'm not interested in people liking me. I'm interested if we say we are cooperative and we are going to be unified and all the rest of it. We got to tell the truth, and we got to stop with this crap about you're a snitch. No, I'm not a snitch. You can't keep killing the people that look like me, that look like you, and I sit there in that neighborhood and I don't say anything because you look like me. That is.
But look at the situation, Judith. Judith, you spoke the other day about the Church Avenue boycotts, a movement that I was deeply entrenched in. I invited, at that point in time, the boycott had gained a lot of momentum, and we were trying to get those Korean merchants out of the neighborhood for whatever it is they did or what they were accused of doing. I invited the Nation of Islam down there to speak. I invited Reverend Sharpton or someone from his office to speak. It so happened that at the same time they were supposed to come down, my father died, and I didn't show up the particular day when they were supposed to show up. So when they got there was no one to receive them to the boycott line and introduce them to the crowd to speak. What the crowd turned around and do was boo the Nation of Islam and boo Reverend Sharpton's people and say, oh, you all only coming down here for ABC and you all don't belong. Why? Did we forget who the common enemy was? The common enemy were the Korean merchants who beat that woman for claiming that she stole two Scotch bonnet pepper.
Well,
and beat her and drag out the store. They forgot at that point in time who the common enemy was, and what they did, they turned against the other Black people and said, well, no, you don't belong here, and this one and Sharpton is this. This is we need to put that stuff aside and fight for the common good. And the common good at that time was about getting those people out.
Black people have a short memory for pain. That's the first thing. Second thing is, why get them out? Why can't we coexist? Why get them out? Why don't we have our own stores And why don't we go to our people that look like us? Because I'm going to tell you what I know for a fact.
You just answer the
They
question.
could take out every Korean store in there. We will go find it someplace else, and we'll pass the store that's owned by people that look like us. That's a fact. That's a reality.
You answered your own question. We have a short memory for pain. And if we allow them to stay there, pretty soon, people are going to forget what they did. And then everybody going to go ahead and continue patronizing them where they feel that it's okay to continue doing these things.
The other thing is this. In your leadership, you must make sure that there's somebody who speaks as powerfully as you do, who carries a message that if you're not there, they can do what you should have done if your father hadn't died. Somebody should have stood out. Somebody should have been trained to speak on your behalf to get that crowd to the place where needed to, so they could acknowledge the Nation of Islam and they could acknowledge as somebody from Al Sharpton's office. One of the things.
Go ahead.
Listen, everything that I do it with a sense that I am a piece that can be removed. So I share information with those around me so that if I'm not around, somebody's going to step in and do what I'm not there to do. That's part of our problem. I'm telling you, this unity because of self-hatred, it can be taken away, but we've got to acknowledge that it exists. We don't acknowledge it. You talk about Jamaica, and I'm serious about this stuff. You talk about Jamaica and tell Jamaica that they have a racism problem. Oh no, we have a class problem. We don't. Bull crap. It's there. It's here. It's all over. Black folks who are lighter think they are better than black folks who are darker. It's still happening in 2021. Until we can acknowledge all that stuff, until we can acknowledge that people burning their skin because they want to be lighter, until we can fully acknowledge that, we're not going anywhere. And I'm telling you, it's not because I'm not saying because I'm hopeless. I'm saying it because it just won't go. I see it. I live it. And the thing, like they call me a snitch. We have got to start telling what we see amongst ourselves, not to the white man, but we've got to start discussing this real. And you know what frightens me? The only time we see our lives threatened is when a white person is involved, and that ticks me off. So our lives only become valuable when a white person is after us, when a white person has done something to us. Koreans, all these people, I hear that we're upset that they don't touch our hands. Their culture is different from ours. So that's one of the reasons why they don't touch anybody's hands. But it's like we're living a life waiting to be a victim. And always, they said this to me. I faced racism. I've been in this country 50 years. But I'm telling you something, nobody's never ever stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. And I still maintain that people who used to be leaders in the black community, we need a whole new breed of people. Because the bottom line is that they have gotten in and they have now the color that they most enjoy and like is green.
Green. Woo! Karin, you were about to say something a minute ago.
Yo, take a little breather.
No, I was
take a little breather.
From what you both said, I drew something else, and I feel very strongly about people, the short memory that you just mentioned, Dr. Judith, and people have a short memory. Culturally, if you want to call it that, we tend to have a short memory, but the danger is to see history repeat itself, which we have been seeing over the last couple of decades in this country.
Yep.
And you cannot allow that to happen. That is the danger.
So there is a solution. There was a question asked: how do we initiate the hope, and what's the answer? A major part of the answer was discussed tonight in the very, very first part of the program, which is life insurance. Now, if our community, we're talking about strength in numbers, if our churches and organizations and schools and HBCUs and or neighborhoods push the drive of life insurance, in large numbers, it will deter officers doing target practice on us in public, because the insurance companies would have to go after the officers and say, "Oi,
I'm going to put a little different spin on that, Sam.
We have too much to pay out on this stuff over here. Plus, if we put legislation that officers need to be insured.
That's it.
So you take out life insurance and then put legislation in place that officers must be insured. All city officers. This whole target practice on black people will stop. We just talk about the green. The whole green conversation is going to stop, because now all those insurance is backed by whites, and they'll have to pay out. And this is not, you're not waiting for no settlement from no court. You're not waiting for Mr. Crumb to go and talk all the nonsense he does be talking when he talking it. All of that will be happening without even the court getting involved. And we have to wait and march down the road.
Regardless of what the court chooses to do.
Right.
Regardless of what the court chooses to do, that should be in effect.
What you're saying is that we need to be smarter.
That is my point.
We need to be wiser.
That's right.
Listen, my insurance is just about up. I'm just had a whole bunch of tests yesterday to get a new insurance, because the one that I've been paying is a joke.
Hallelujah.
So I just did all of that yesterday.
Glory be to God.
To my son, his question to me, why do I need insurance? I said, because death comes without planning. You're planning. You don't know when, you don't know how. And I don't want to have to be spending any money unnecessarily.
He
cannot be on my policy anymore, so he has to get his own insurance. But like you said, but it comes from, if you don't value yourself, if you don't value your life, when you have young black people saying that they expect to be dead at 19, 17, when they saying that, when routinely somebody dies in the black community and it has to be GoFundMe, it has to be fish fry or whatever, it's become a way of life for us. And we think it's okay. And then I saw a black man on TV.
We've become way too complacent.
Exactly. That's the thing. Listen, every time something goes crazy, and then we go right back to the complacency. You see, I saw a black guy on TV the other day talking to Jimmy Kimmel, and his sneakers, the sneakers that he bought, this guy wears a size 16. He said how many thousands of dollars the sneakers cost him. So here in Georgia, sometime not long ago, about 3 years ago, they saw this kid at school, the school that where I work. They followed him home. They wanted the sneakers. He said no. They entered his house, tied him to a chair, and they killed him. That's what we're doing to us.
For a pair of sneakers.
For a pair of sneakers. But then you have to trace it back to what the mother does and the father does. The money they spend on cars that they can't afford. Direct TV that they can't pay the monthly bill. So these children they're watching their own lives. They're watching their own parents do crazy things. And it's generational. We're repeating it. 2 girls here in Georgia the other day, black girls. They're involved with each other sexually. One of them was jealous. She just shot the other one and killed her. Could that happen with white people? Of course it could. But it's too much of it. It's too much of it with us. And I believe what I'm saying, because I work with youth in Florida and here. And we have one black girl said to me here, she said she's gonna get all her teeth taken out.
What?
Strong, beautiful teeth. You know why? She said, well, eventually I'm going to have to wear dentures anyway.
Oh, heck to the no. Never bought into that. Hell no. Never bought into that.
19 years old. Beautiful, strong teeth.
No.
I said, listen, when I was in my 20s, I said, listen, I'm going to die with my teeth, my own teeth. You understand?
Thank you.
I just went to the dentist the other day. It's not an experience I really enjoy. But guess what? See, they're still working. And I'm going to still let them take care of it.
I generally tell my boys to brush only the ones you want to keep.
Oh, Jesus. That means all of them.
Now, Sam, you talk about Sorry. Go
But
ahead.
hold on, gentlemen, ladies, we are approaching that 2-hour mark at the top of the hour. You know, I know the conversation is interesting, but we come to a point where we will have to wrap it up. So, Judith, since you were on the floor, just finish out because I had the floor. I don't want you to start again from the just wean it out and let it go. Since you had the floor, is what I'm saying. Just give us some closing remarks. Let's take it around the room so we can wrap this up because I know we could talk till 2.
My closing remarks are: I mean what I say. I live a life where there's an open mic. I live in that what I say is what I mean. If I promise you something, I'm going to follow through unless I die. One of the things that I learned, even when I was sick the other day, I found myself checking on other people. And what it did, it reminded me of my insistent, consistent, persistent love of other people. That's just the way it is. I grew up believing that it's not just about me. And so strength in numbers. You have to remember that when you have numbers, you have diverse thoughts and opinions and feelings. So strength in numbers become very tricky at times because people can see the same issue, the same problem, and have a very different view towards it. And that sometimes can weaken the group. But leadership is important. A leader that is focused and keeps their eye on what the group needs will somehow have the ability to keep corralling them and bringing them back to the main point, because selfishness reigns, especially in these times. So strength in numbers is a powerful thing. It's a wonderful concept, but it's even better when it works in reality. My job is to do it every chance that I get, is to do my part, to bring things together, to bring people together. And if I cannot do that, hopefully, if I find myself being divisive, is to shut up and sit down.
Thank you, Dr. Judith.
All right.
Ms. Forrester.
Going in from a different angle, the same letter from a Birmingham jail that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote. As I said, it resonated with me on several levels, where he talks about how we're always told to wait. As a people, we're always being told to wait. And the language basically is wait means never. You never quite know what to expect next in this culture. He mentioned how oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. Our predecessors fought so long so we could have what they had been denied, that it is our responsibility not to allow ourselves to become so complacent as to allow history to repeat itself. That is putting such a shameful thing to their memory. Lack of a better word. That is putting shame to their memory and all the efforts that they've made on our behalf. So all I'm saying is that we need to be more cohesive. We need to be politically more powerful, and power comes with being unified and putting people in place that we can rely on or hold accountable for the laws in this country.
Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Archer. They leave a tall Take it away.
Yeah. I could deal with it. Strength in numbers. We could achieve whatever we need to achieve, and we need new approaches. We need new. We have to. Last couple of shows we've been talking about the new way of thinking. And we have people with the ideas and the methods and things that we need to do. They can come and help us with finances and the economy and all of that. But we have to think on the level of, if we're going to have these guys and these sisters coming to the community, they're going to need some gas money to get there. They're going to need a little room and board to come through. We can't expect, all right, you went and you got a degree and you got your training, and then now you're just going to come to the community for free.
Mm.
Although you may do a couple of things for free, at some point there's going to be some kind of course that we have to think in that way, so that when it's for us to empower ourselves, that we know that we have to put something in the potter's thing. And this was just to bridge a gap. So not to say that one was wrong, because I think the latest thing we had was that what's the sister's name? She that just did a Cadillac commercial. What was the sister there? The civil rights sister there? Tamika, is it Malloy? What's her name?
I'm not familiar with it.
Right. Well, she just recently did a Cadillac commercial, and the community's in uproar because she was marching and doing all these different things, and then now Cadillac has her in a commercial, and there's this little uproar that she's in it for the money. So we don't know if she have bills to pay. You understand what I'm saying? There's no major corporation or organization backing many of these individuals today. So if they're on the front line doing these things, in some way that we have to find ways to protect them and to support them. But this was good because I think, and we didn't plan this, but life insurance is a major strategy in where we need to go as a people to avoid target practice that's been going on for the last couple of years. And if those numbers are really high, the same way we put Obama in office, if all of us go and get a life insurance policy, and these guys still want to do the little target practice, guess what? Once they start feeling the pain in the pocket, then the departments and the chiefs and the mayors and everybody else, from the top all the way down to the bottom, is going to go and tell them, hey, here happening people, the target practice thing had to stop. Why? Because we're paying it out. We have to pay. And if they have to pay, they're going to feel it and stop the nonsense. That's my 2 cents for the evening.
No man is an island. No man stands alone. I always like to use the example or think about the African hunting dogs or the African wild dogs, as people refer to them. They hunt in packs using teamwork and strategy to capture prey. They may start off about 12, 14 strong. And every so often, one of them would break away from the pack. And the one who, the prey who's running, he think, well, he lost that one behind. And another one would break away from the pack. And he say, yeah, I'm heading in the right direction. 14 started chasing him, and before you know it, he only see about 6. And say, yes, I'm on the right track, and he begin to relax. And as he reach up the road, the 8 that broke away from the pack are now standing in front of him, coming this way. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. When those African hunting dogs, or wild dogs as they call them, when they prevail as a team. It's not just one dog that eats. They all eat. But we as human beings who claim to be the smartest and still the smartest and the creatures on the face of the earth, and we have dominion over all things, and we still shying away from forming teams to accomplish goals. Because you know why? Some individuals still seem satisfied to hunt alone, simply because they prefer to eat alone. That's a mentality we need to stop. This universe is abundant. There's enough for all of us. Join hands together. Work in unity. We have strength in numbers. This has been a rather interesting conversation, people. Thank you all for joining us. Peace and blessings.